afternoon, and welcome to Mocha Talk. I'm Denise Bunning, and thanks to FAIR for creating this safe space for us to chit-chat about various monthly topics. As a former teacher, support group leader, and of course, food allergy mom, I'm thrilled that today's episode is about being thankful. As Thanksgiving and holidays approach, I wanted this episode to be about being thankful. As a parent, I know I am thankful for so many things: my family, my children, my friends, and so much more. But as a food allergy mom, I have a whole new outlook and groups of people to be thankful for. Thankful for the strides taken forward for the food allergy community, like the FASTER Act being passed this year, and thankful for organizations like FAIR that made that happen. Thankful to the support group leaders, of whom I am so closely connected to and can share my experiences with. And lastly, thankful to all in the food allergy community who get up every day and fight the good fight, educate the masses, and are advocates for their families every day. And with that, I'm thankful for my next two guests, both who are food allergy moms and all-around rock stars. Let's welcome them. Let me start with my first guest, Hillary Carter, food allergy mom, advocate, and host of Take Action, and a longtime friend. Welcome to Mocha Talk, Hillary. We're so excited to have you, and I can't believe you haven't been on this show yet. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your food allergy story?
Denise, thank you so much for having me. I, as you know, am a big fan of yours and of this show, and it's such an honor to be here. So just some highlights of my story. I have two boys. They're now 9 and 11. It's going so fast, but they both have multiple food allergies, both life-threatening, multiple, long list of food allergies. So we've had a really long decade. They both were diagnosed really early in their childhood. And I've been working with FAIR really for almost the entire time that they've had food allergies, working on the FAIR walks and fundraising luncheons, and now getting to create content like you do with shows for FAIR. And just so honored to be part of this community, so honored to work with you, and just thrilled to be here.
Wonderful. Okay, and now let's welcome our next guest, Dr. Ruchi Gupta, food allergy mom, director of CFAR, or the Center for Food Allergy and Asthma Research at Northwestern, and author of her latest book, Food Without Fear. And actually, the list can go on and on and on about Dr. Gupta. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your food allergy story? Take it away, Ruch.
Thanks, Denise. So excited to be here with you. I tell you, Denise's energy makes all of us seem very slow and boring. So love how you rally us all up. My food allergy story, I met Denise 18 years ago now, and her energy, along with her husband Dave's, really sparked something in me to study this area of food allergy, which I didn't really know much about, and jumped in because learned that there was so little being done in it compared to what I was studying, which was asthma at that time, and continue to, and then started working in it, doing my best to understand epidemiology. Now we do a lot of work with prevention and disparities, and very exciting, and the community and supporting the community. 3 years into studying it, my daughter was diagnosed with food allergies, so then I became a more integral part of the community, and it's been amazing. And people like Denise have supported me, not only cheering me on with all the work we do, but even in my personal life. And how do you manage kids and food allergies as now you're a real life parent and having to do this more than just studying it? So it's been really great to have, support groups. Mocha, which Denise founded, was one of my first ones, which I first started doing research in and then became a member of. So it's been a journey, but we keep going. So we now have 50 people in CFAR studying food allergies, and really excited to be here with you and with Hillary, who too is incredible. And I've never seen anyone read my book like she did. It was really something else. So really appreciate both of you and everything you do for the community and food allergy.
Wonderful. Okay, we're going to start with you, Hillary. If you can possibly share some more details about your journey with your boys, the ups, the downs, how you've managed it. I know you had some serious, scary experiences with your son, and I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing that story with us.
Sure. So really over the last 10 years, we have had a handful of anaphylactic reactions for both boys. I have a very big history with oral food challenges. So as you both know, we've been through 25 oral food challenges at this point, but 23 of them were passes, and that's 23 new foods we've been able to add, which is completely amazing. And then 2 of those were anaphylactic reactions. But if you've been through this before, during an oral food challenge, you're in a hospital, you have medical team with you. It's scary and it's awful. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that, but it feels much different than being caught off guard at home or at an event. And so one of the other anaphylactic reactions that we had, which you mentioned, was almost a year ago now, last December. My youngest son had a terrifying reaction to chicken nuggets. And it was a brand that we had trusted for years for other products. And that really, you know, they spend a lot of time focusing on the allergy community. They're very clear with their labeling and their testing. And so while we hadn't had these particular gluten-free chicken nuggets, because my son does have wheat allergy, we'd had so many other products. So I felt really comfortable. And so he did eat the chicken nuggets. He did go into full anaphylaxis. He required 4 EpiPens. We took an ambulance to our local community hospital and another ambulance to Yale, which is an hour away from where we live. Spent the night. Absolutely terrifying. I mean, this was, you know, the only reaction in all of the reactions that we've been through where I 4 EpiPens, you don't hear about that very often. And I really honestly was very worried that it wasn't going to turn around. And so that really was a final straw for our family, because if you are as massive as a food allergy advocate as I am and as my family is, and you do all of the work correctly and you do all of the research and you go to all of the allergists and you're so super safe and this can still happen, that's tough to swallow. That's really hard. And so all of us were dealing, I'll be really honest, we were dealing with anxiety, we were dealing with food fear, we were dealing with trusting companies. And so we really have had a big pivot in our family where we decided that it was time for us to look into OIT so that we could really begin to have some confidence and some safety back in our house. So now that's the journey that we're on. So it was a really bad experience. I will also say FAIR really stepped in and helped with that entire experience. They helped me work with the organization to test and figure out what our son had a reaction to, which it turned out was gluten and gluten-free products. And so I'm always grateful for my family at FAIR for supporting me, for supporting all of us in the food allergy community. And all of it's up on my blog. If you want to look for it and hear all the terrible details, it's there.
My goodness, that is intense for sure. I'm going to continue with you, Hillary, and ask a couple more questions. You obviously are one of the strongest food allergy advocates in the community, but how did you get started? And what advice would you give to others who might not know where to start?
Such a great question. And I too get asked that all the time. So a couple of things are really important. The first thing is I happen to be very, very fortunate, and that one of the people I had just become friends with when we moved to this town, Julie Karish, who I work with all the time and is also my best friend, her daughter was diagnosed right around the time that my sons were. And so we were able to start talking together. So tip number 1, find anybody local who's going through this. It's amazing to be online. It's amazing to be in social media, but you need someone who can actually be with you. And especially now that we're able to get together in person, find a friend. So I had my friend, and then she actually saw a flyer for a FAIR walk in her pediatrician's office. And she was like, oh, we should go to this. And I'm not even joking. We went to the walk and kind of the rest is history. We found the organizers. We asked how we could get involved. We started, working on them the following years. I ended up co-chairing them, which turned into luncheons, which turned into the board of governors. It just sort of snowballed. So just find an organization or a local support group or a way to connect with FAIR. Take that first step, get involved, and it's going to just grow over time.
That's almost the exact same thing about people say, like, how did you start Mocha? I was like, well, I went to, a food allergy conference, and they announced, like, are any support group leaders or anyone that wants to be a support group leader? I'm like, turn around. There's Ann Thompson raising her hand. We had never met before. We met. We always say we have like one brain together. She's got a lot of business. I have the education. If you ever see us, I'm short, she's tall. It's great. It's just a very, like you said, it's very organic. And gosh, we've been friends for 30 years, which is crazy.
It's
Crazy
amazing.
laugh.
And you know what
Crazy
I left out? What I left out, which I super want to add, is that very, very, very early on, I was introduced to Helen Jaffe, who is just, I mean, a saint and the kindest woman. And she invited me to her home and had coffee and just was like, her kids are older. And so another tip is like, find not only a friend that's your age, but a friend who's gone through it already. And she was really, really the first one who was able to hold my hand and say, you're going to be fine. Your kids are going to be fine. Her kids were in high school at the time. And then she really, really brought me into the local FAIR community support group here. And so, finding that friend who's your age and then one who has kids that are older, life-saving, and really brought me in, which I appreciate.
There we go. Okay, so on this journey, who or what have you found to be your constant source of strength that you want to give thanks to right now?
I'm going to say my kids. My kids have been incredible little warriors. I mean, from the very beginning, all of this has been for them, and their resilience and their empathy and their bravery is outstanding. Again, going back to all the OFCs they've been through, the anaphylactic reactions they've been through, the shots, the medications, the hospitals, all the things. Yet they're so strong, they're so brave, they're so happy, they're such normal kids. This does not define them. And they are my heroes.
Yay, them. Okay. All right. On to you, Ruchi. Can you tell us a little bit about your food allergy journey as a mom and then as a doctor, and then what that's like for you?
Sure. So my food allergy journey started, 14 years ago when my daughter was around 1 and was playing with my son, who loves peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. He was about 4 and eating them and touching her, and some of it must have gotten in her mouth, and she developed hives all over her body and she threw up. And, there I went from someone studying food allergies and talking to other moms and dads about their children and food allergies to it being part of my world. And now she's 15. So it's been a journey. I have one child with food allergies, one without. And so it's been also interesting to see that dynamic and how much, my son was able to do or go places, and how then my daughter wasn't and had restrictions and had to be more careful. Couple episodes, Hillary, my heart goes out to you and your son in that episode. We've had a couple scary episodes for sure. Nothing to that extent, but it's so funny because even as a parent who studies food allergy and is an expert, it's so interesting when you go to restaurants, or we had one episode where they were seriously arguing with me about food allergies and what was in it, and that it couldn't have been a reaction. And I, like my daughter's like, if they knew who you were, and I'm like, no, it's not about it. I'm just a parent. I'm just one of everyone experiencing the same things that every other person experiences. And what I feel like I take from those is, okay, then how do I take that into the lab? And how do I now develop more resources around this? Because if I'm dealing with it, so is everyone else. Every time you drop your child, it was so amazing to me. Every camp, oh, well, how serious is your child's food allergies? What does every parent answer? We don't know, right? Are we allowed to have it in the room? How do you know the answer to these questions as a parent when you're told that it could be life-threatening, or you could have a very mild reaction? It's anything. So, a lot of these experiences were not, obviously wouldn't wish it on anyone, but were really interesting for me to live through, to be able then to say, now, what do we do about it? And how do we build out better resources? Just the whole education around how do you tell if someone's having a food allergic reaction? And then how do you encourage people to use epinephrine quick and, not wait? And all of these pieces, my daughter, we have terms at home, she called it the stare, right? When you think your child's having a reaction, but you're not sure, and you just sit there and stare at them, and that would make her so anxious. And then you kind of look around the room and you're like, what is going on? It is not easy, even if you talk about this all day and night, to recognize when your child's actually having a reaction, when you think you fed them something that was totally safe, right? That they've had so many times. So, I guess my journey with my daughter has been really interesting because it is what I do, in my day job. And so watching her grow up and go through the fear and the anxieties, and then having to not be the expert mom and lay off and try to act like I didn't know what I was talking about. Like Dennett's, she used to like just kind of be shielded or protected. And I had to push her to become her own advocate. As I was one of those moms who decreased travel and tried to stay around and was overly hovering, and then realizing that she had to gain her own independence sometime in middle school. So that was an interesting journey when I had to pretend like I didn't know what the label said and tell her it was safe and watch her read the label and say, Mom, no, it's not, and just be ready in case she just opened it and started eating it, like empower them and make her think that I actually don't know what I'm doing, just to make sure she knows to trust herself. And then how do you get them to speak up in restaurants when they are looking at you, to say, I have a food allergy and I cannot have nuts or whatever, their allergies are. So I feel like these phases are really important in helping each other. And Denise has helped me with so many pieces of this, how to train my kids, how to have the parties to make it fun, to empower their friends, to care about their food allergies, know how to use epinephrine. But you do need that support, and you do need I completely agree with you, Hillary, like people who have gone through everything and people who are also your age who are going through it, with you, to be able to rely on. And yeah, now she's 15. She's a total advocate. She doesn't need me anymore. It's a totally different world. She knows what she's doing probably better than I do. So I have to say, one thing in our research I think is really beautiful about kids with food allergy is we did actually ask them, what did you gain from your food allergy? And the couple things they did say, which Hillary, you describe in your kids, Denise, I know your kids have them. And I'm excited to say that I feel like Ria's developing them too, is that they can advocate for themselves, and not only for their food allergy, but they find their voice and they're able to advocate for themselves and others. And the second thing is that they have empathy, that they understand other kids going through other things. And then the third was that they eat healthier, which is awesome. But I mean, who wouldn't wish those qualities in their kids? So, yes.
All right. Okay. So ready?
Yes.
Let's talk about the book. Okay. Okay. Very beautiful, colorful cover. I love that. And thank you very much, Ruchi, for wearing purple. Do you want to hear, can you give us a little synopsis about the book?
Sure. Yes, I'm happy to. So this actually came about because, in our research, what we were finding is so many people have a negative reaction to a food and don't know what to call it, and oftentimes call it a food allergy. It's just the word that's out there. And then they don't go to a doctor and get it diagnosed. And these are both parents of kids. So 11% of parents said their child had a food allergy. Only 5% of them were getting diagnosed. And about 8% of them really seemed to have a food allergy. And adults, it was even more. 20% said they had a food allergy. Only 5% were getting diagnosed with, from a physician, hopefully an allergist. And then about 10% seemed like they really did have a true food allergy based on their symptoms. So when we saw this and we realized there's so much confusion out there on what a food allergy is, and for whatever reason, I mean, I think the two main reasons people don't get a diagnosis is, one, they think I can just avoid the food. And what's a doctor going to do? What are they going to help me with when they're just going to tell me to avoid the food? So that's one, which is wrong. So you should go see a doctor. Very, very important. Number one message of the book. And then two, they don't often have access. There's a lot of people who can't get to an allergist to get a proper diagnosis. So they just avoid the food. And if they have a reaction, we find them in the emergency room. And that's where they get their first diagnosis. So I think the point of this book, and then three, that there's a lot of food conditions, right? There's intolerances, sensitivities, everything that's out there these days. And people don't know necessarily how to differentiate, like, which one do I have? So I think the goal of this book is to help people understand what's going on in their body, what they may have, and then, have a plan. There's a survey, there's a spectrum that you can take to your doctor and have a really good conversation and get a proper diagnosis and know how to manage it, especially because there's treatments now, right? You can treat some of these things, and you just don't have to live in this world of avoiding foods for no reason if you don't have to.
That is like hope, hope, hope. So that's my next question for you. Besides, hearing what Hillary had to say and what you have to say. So what is your hope for the future of food allergies? And how can we help you get there and help all of us get there?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Small question. It's just a little one.
Just a little one. I know. Nothing big. I have so much hope for the future of food allergies. Like I said, I've been in this field for 18 years. And I have never seen it like it is today. I mean, all the amazing advocates, you, Hillary, so many more out there, all the researchers that are getting into the space, like it is big now. There's so many people studying so many important aspects of food allergy. And then, just the prevention things we're discovering, the treatments, the diagnostics. I mean, it is such a amazing time to be in the field. And Denise and I wrote this book together a couple of years ago, and there's a comic that's our final comic with a little kid and an adult, and the adult saying to the little kid, when I was your age, there were no food allergies. And then that's what we always hear. That's what everyone says, everyone's grandma. I don't know what this is. And then when the kid grows up, he's talking to another little kid and he's saying, when I was your age, there were food allergies. And I think that's our ultimate hope. If we can prevent it for the babies early, and then we can treat it now with so many different types of treatments, biologics, OIT, EPIT, SLIT. I mean, there's so many things that are on the horizon. Then, I might be out of a job.
That's good. I don't think you'll have a problem figuring out something else to research. So that would be a good thing, a good problem to have, right? For all of us to not have to worry about this and to go on would be great. Okay, so for you, who or what have you found to be your constant source of strength and that you want to give thanks to?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I agree with Hillary. I think our kids are constant sources of strength for us. My daughter, of course, with food allergy, but even my son without, he has been involved in every food allergy video. He has been so awesome, and he never gets any credit. So I had to do a shout out for him. But in addition, of course, there's other people in your lives, like my husband has been incredibly supportive of everything I do. I'm gone a lot. I work a lot. And it's been awesome. I mean, community, you, Denise, I'm so grateful for you. I've known Denise. She's the one who kind of got me into this with her incredibly inspiring personality. And I am forever grateful because you've given me purpose. I feel like I truly have the best job in the world, and so I also thank everyone who's helped make that happen, because I can go into work and do what I'm truly passionate about and I love so much, and keep supporting, families, underserved communities, everyone, to the best of my abilities. So yeah, I am eternally grateful to, so many people. There's just not, one that you can just name, but I do agree with Hillary. I love that. The kids are our inspiration in the end,
For sure. Well, as food allergy mamas, we're as mama bear, right? Protecting, figuring it out, building community, trying to help others. That's just kind of what we do. Okay, last question. It was a tough 2020. It was a really challenging 2021. Tell us something that you are grateful and thankful for specifically this year. Going back to you, Hillary.
Sure. Really good question. Okay. So I think that what the last year or 2 years have really helped me redefine is really who are my squad, right? I mean, we've all had to really figure out a way to communicate with our community in a whole different way, and our work friends and our family. And what has come through to me, and I will say, of course, my boys and of course, my husband, but the strong women in my life and what an impact they've made have been so amazing. And I'm incredibly grateful. And I think about, even very specifically from a food allergy standpoint, when I think about Lisa Gable and the work that she's done for FAIR, you, Denise, Helen Jaffe, the women who, whose kids are a little older, who give me so much hope. My best friend, Julie, my Connecticut team of awesome food allergy moms, Kim Yates and Debbie Tabak at Latitude Food Allergy Care, helping my kids with OIT. You know what? I love my mom, who, by the way, is the best food allergy grandmother ever. I love all Ruchi Gupta and your amazing book. Of course, you too. I love the strong women in my life, and having to be away from people during this time has made me more thankful for them and more committed to making sure those relationships stay strong.
Holy cow, that was phenomenal.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh, right? Like, ditto, right?
Yeah.
Just fill in your people. Oh my goodness, that was amazing. Okay, Ruchi, it's your turn. Grateful and thankful specifically this year.
Oh my God, you can't ask me to follow that.
I know. That was crazy.
Oh man. I just ditto that, but
Ditto.
Right,
I
ditto.
completely agree.
Ditto.
Strong women. But I would say, one thing that COVID did for me, and it was hard. It was a hard year for me. And I feel like we need to acknowledge that it was tough for all of us. I feel like it was productive, but hard. But I think it helped me become personally more aware of myself. And I did a lot of self-reflection during COVID, because I had time to. I feel like I'm one of those people who fill every minute, if I can. And it gave me a lot of time to do that. And I think, hopefully we can all take some time to do that. But coming out of COVID now, I'm really happy to have that strength inside, because again, as women, I think we're always fighting ourselves for the imposter syndrome. Do we really belong? Are we really doing what we're supposed to be doing? The guilt, I'm not doing enough for my kids. I'm not doing enough for my work. I'm not doing enough for my community. I think a lot of these are toxic, but they're kind of a part of who we are in some ways, or at least me, and kind of coming to grips with a lot of that, and knowing that we're all doing the best we can with what we know and what we have. And there's no imposter syndrome. We all know a lot, and we're working off of what we do know. And to your point, Hillary, I agree. All the collaborations, all the wonderful people who come around to support you and pull you up and take you to that next place. And I think one of the biggest things in my book of life is knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know, and finding those people who know the other things and building these teams and collaborations. And that's what we're all doing together. And that's what, I think I just am empowered coming out of COVID because of all the wonderful people and because of learning more about myself.
That's great. That's wonderful. So for me specifically, obviously can't help but thank, shout out to my sons, Brian and Daniel, and of course my husband, Dave. Totally fill up my love tank. But I am so appreciative of my extended family and all of my friends, and obviously the food allergy community, but also people that make me laugh and help me try to have a more balanced life. It's not a surprise that I'm high energy. My mother would say, I came this way. So I try to bring joy and happiness. It doesn't mean that I'm not taking things seriously. I take things very seriously. But I always try to put a little fun spin on it. It's the elementary school teacher in me. I can't help it. It's just the way it is. So what I want to do now is, on behalf of the food allergy community, I really want to thank both of you for your tireless work. Thank you both for being on the show, taking the time out, because we're all so busy. But I know this is going to be a fabulous, fun, and inspiring and helpful, hopefully, episode for people. And I also wanted to give a special shout out to all the healthcare workers as well, because we appreciate you so much. So unbelievable. These episodes always fly by, and my sons always make fun of me because I say "Holy cow" every episode. So this has been an amazing episode. Wishing you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for watching Mocha Talk and sending love, rainbows, laughter, and gratitude to all. See you next time.